Hi guys, welcome to my first Photoshop tutorial. This video is going to be super simple, just going over how to bring an image into Photoshop, how to make some basic edits on that image, and then how to go ahead and save that image into the appropriate file size. Again, for this class, I'd like all of your images to be in JPEG, if possible. So what I'm going to do here to bring an image into Photoshop, you can either go ahead and just drag the image from your desktop into this large dark gray area, or you can go ahead and go File, and then you're going to want to go to Open. So now I'm just going to choose an image from my desktop. This image I just took on my iPhone. I sent it to myself in an email, and then I downloaded that email attachment onto my desktop. So I'm just going to go ahead and open that. My computer's very slow, so just bear with us. There we go. We've pulled it into Photoshop. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to make sure that the bit depth of this image is in 16 bits. So what I've done is I've gone to Image in my drop-down menu up here, then Mode, and it is going to allow me to change this into 16 bits per channel. That's just a good first step to do whenever you're working on an image. It just allows you to make edits to the photograph without risking degrading the original image file. So now I've changed it into 16 bits. I then am going to go ahead and make a copy of my background layer. So I'm over here where my layers are going to build up. I'm just going to drag this background layer, and I've dragged it down here. To this icon. You may or may not be able to see it. It looks like a folded over little piece of paper. It's the second icon to the right down here in the bottom right hand corner of my screen. So now I've got the background and the background copy right above it. Basically all that does is ensure that in case I make a mistake or I do something detrimental, that I have this background layer that's basically untouched, and you can always go back to the original version of your photograph. So now that I've made those two changes, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change this image into black and white. So to do that, I'm going to go up to Image, I'm going to go down to Adjustments, and it's going to give me all of these different adjustment layers that I can do. I am going to select this one here that says black and white. So now that I've done that, it has presented me with this menu. So right now it's on a default preset, so it just has changed it to kind of a standard black and white. Now what you can do is you can go through here and you can adjust all of these separate color channels. So remembering that this barn was red in the original image, I can adjust this red slider, and we can see that the tones in the barn are going to change. As I slide it to the left, it'll get a little bit darker, obviously much darker, and as I slide it to the right, it's going to get lighter and lighter. So you can kind of tweak around with these to see what you might like. I'm going to leave that one pretty much in the middle there. If you want to darken or lighten the sky, you can go ahead and adjust your blues or your cyans. I might darken the sky just a little bit to separate from the trees just a bit. There you go. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. And now my image is in black and white, which is amazing. So from here, you can go ahead and make a couple of other simple adjustments. I'm just going to show you guys how to do things like control contrast, control the exposure, things like that. So over here in our adjustments layers little box over here, these are basically the same options that we saw in this drop-down menu. They're just in little icons over here. So I'm going to start with the brightness and contrast, which is this little sun that's split in half and has these two sides. So this will open up a brightness tool. We can, adjust that. This will just adjust the overall brightness of the image. So if I go this way, it's going to get a little bit darker. And then underneath that, we have contrast. So again, with the contrast, different from your contrast filters in the darkroom, this contrast will lighten brighter areas as well as darken darker areas. So just be mindful of that. You can increase the contrast and then kind of adjust the brightness in addition to that. So I'm just going to lower my contrast a little bit. I don't want my shadows to get too dark. So I'm just going to leave it something like that. You can go ahead and click out of this window if you're happy with it, and you'll notice that that has made an adjustment layer. It's sitting right over here. So if I'd like to go back and make additional changes to that, I can just double click, this icon here, and that will open up that window that we had. So next is our levels layer. So you can adjust the levels, and this will allow you to control the white point, the black point, and then your middle point, your middle gray as well. So right here we have our dark point, our light point, and then our middle gray. So if I grab onto this little triangle right here and scoot this over, we can see how that is darkening my blacks in the image. So basically what you want to do is you're just going to scoot this to the very edge of your histogram. So this little graph right here is known as your histogram, and it's showing you all of the tones in your image. Now you may or may not be able to see that my histogram just barely doesn't fill this entire range. So basically what that means is that if my little black arrow is all the way to the left and my histogram doesn't reach all the way to the left, that the dark tones in my image aren't actually true black, even if they may look that way on my screen. So all I'm going to do to adjust that is I'm just going to scoot over my black tab just till my histogram starts, and then I'll know that I have a true black point in my photograph. And you can go ahead and do the same thing with your bright point as well. So I'm just going to scoot over my white point till the beginning of my histogram. And now I know that my image has a true white point and a true black point in the photograph. Now, if I'd like to brighten or darken my midtones, I can scoot this to the left. That's going to lighten everything. Scoot it to the right. That's going to darken everything. I'm going to leave that pretty much in the center. Beautiful. Okay, so I've made some really basic edits on the image. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail with you guys, but I've changed the image to black and white. I've made minor adjustments to control exposure and contrast. Now I'm just going to go ahead and save the image. So I'm going to go File, Save As. It's going to open up this. So right now, it is saved as IMG-2003. So we don't want that. What we were going to save the image as is last name underscore first name underscore assignment. So I'm going to go Jablonski underscore Lauren underscore project 3. You can just do a 3 even. I'll just do a 3. And then you'll need to change it to like a 1 or an image 1 or something to make this file unique from the next file I'm going to pull in and save for this same assignment. Tully, shh. Sorry, my dogs are whining at the door. So next thing we need to do is change the file format. So down here, it's saved as a TIFF. We can tell because the file name ends in .tiff. So we're going to go ahead and change that to JPEG. So on all of these options, you have PNG. You can save it as a PNG, but I would recommend just doing JPEG. Don't do JPEG 2000, just keep it as a JPEG. And we're going to click Save. Now it's going to prompt you with this, the quality of the JPEG. Now you can do whatever you want. I normally do somewhere between 7 and 10, so I'll just go at 10. That's at maximum. This will make either a smaller or a larger file size, kind of depending. So I go for 10. It's kind of in the middle. And then we're just going to click OK. And it's going to go ahead and save that image to the desktop. So now you guys are done. You can find that image on your desktop now or wherever you saved that. And then you'll be able to upload that directly to Box.com in the appropriate folder.